Greetings again, YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening, whenever you're viewing this. So this is the video that I had intended to release after the birthday live stream on Monday, 1/23, which, by the way, thank you all for your well wishes. It was an extremely stressful few days, which had nothing to do with my birthday, everything to do with outside stressors. But things are maybe kind of starting to clear up now. So it's getting better, and I appreciate the outpouring of support from everyone for that and for my birthday. And thank you all very much. And if you're just stopping by for the first time and you haven't checked out my videos before, maybe click that like button if you like the videos, and click the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications. We have a whole lot of content. We have live streams, we have old school D&D content, we have old school tabletop RPG content, and of course I am doing my level best to keep ahead of, or at least not get completely overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that's coming out with Wizards of the Coast and the OGL 1.2, and that's what we're going to talk about again this morning. There's a Tales of Tabletop Triumph video coming out later today, so you'll actually have something fun to look at. And of course, we are live streaming tonight with first edition AD&D and some open chat before then. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. This was actually the big brains over at the Foundry Virtual Tabletop. Obviously, there are people who have a vested interest in what's going on with the OGL 1.2 because of Wizards of the Coast freaking out over virtual tabletops and NFTs and all that nonsense. So, but they point out some things that are interesting and relevant if you are a creator, and I mean a creator of anything. If you're working under the OGL with the intent to make stuff for Swords and Wizardry or Osric or anything else that's an old school clone, you need to be aware of this. Now, going forward, before we open this, there's going to be a sense of, well, duh, when I say it's a trap, okay? But this is more insidious than I had initially thought. When I sat down and read this, I was like, wow, they really caught this. So let's take a look at what they're saying. So this is their article, which I will link to in the description below. This is OGL 1.2 response and feedback. And just going to go over the preamble just real quick. This is from January 20th. You can see there. And so yesterday, Wizards of the Coast shared a post starting the OGL playtest, which we have talked about, which introduces draft terms of a new open gaming license. This new license is intended to replace the prior open gaming license, which has served and empowered the tabletop gaming industry since 2000. All right, not since 2015, not since 2016, and not since last year. All right, this has been in place for over 2 decades. Just to refresh your memories. So let's just, again, the preamble here. These new license terms are shared for public discussion after several false starts. OGL 1.1, of course, we knew was just a tire fire. It was garbage. It was very restrictive, and it was, as they say, it was far more restrictive to the extent of not being an open license at all. And yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. So now they want their OGL 1.2 feedback. And so this is what the guys over at the Foundry have to say, because obviously virtual tabletop stuff was headlined in the starting OGL 1.2 discussion. So Foundry's clearly going to be very, very keen to know what's going on with that. But there is some stuff here. This is an insidious trap, guys. And I want you to listen to this. This has to do with everybody. So they start off, despite these improvements, there are still some serious problems with the OGL 1.2. Wizards of the Coast has invited community discussion on the matter, and it is important for us to advocate for our users, our product, and the value that we bring to the D&D community. Now, I know some people who really like the Foundry. They use it, so this is having an impact on a lot of people. Let's just get right to it. Unwitting acceptance. All right. There's a particularly dangerous combination of statements in OGL 1.2, which, unless corrected by Wizards of the Coast, may result in creators unknowingly and non-consensually accepting the terms of this new license. Again, you may unknowingly accept 1.2. You could get trapped here. I could have gotten trapped here. Okay? I'm no big legal brain. I'm just a writer and a gamer. And let me tell you something. Everything I was worried about with OGL 1.0a, which wasn't there, is now happening in OGL 1.2. I asked Ty Beard, and I'm going to upload the Ty Beard discussions, and I will link to them in community and so forth. I was worried about all of this stuff that's in OGL 1.2 being somehow hidden in OGL 1.0a. So I was right. I was just way too early. By using our licensed content, you agree to the terms of this license. Draft OGL 1.2, page 1. So our licensed content, what does that mean? Our licensed content, this license covers any content in the SRD 5.1 or any subsequent version of the SRD we release under this license that is not licensed to you under Creative Commons. You may use that content in your own works with the terms of this license. How are those two things dangerous? And I can't believe I overlooked this, but that, like I said, keener legal minds than mine, okay? But now I'm sharing this with you. And it's right here. If a creator uses content from the SRD version 5.1, the current version of the SRD, which has been available since May of 2016. Think all the way back to 2016. That's 7 years ago. That's 7 years ago. That was before any of us imagined that things could take this turn. 7 years ago, if you were using the SRD 5.1, is when that came out. They're bringing the SRD 5.1 under 1.2. So by using SRD 5.1, you may be stumbling right into an inescapable trap. This is Tomb of Horrors level stuff, guys. So the next article item that they point out here, deauthorization does not apply. Now look, I cannot advise you guys legally. I don't know what the legal standing of the guys at the Foundry VTT are, okay? This is what they're saying. This gives me a little bit of hope. Deauthorization does not apply. OGL 1.2 perseveres with a dubious attempt to deauthorize the prior OGL 1.0a. Any creator who agrees to it affirmatively gives up their rights to continue using OGL 1.0a. The new license acknowledges that previously published content is unaffected, but attempts to cast doubt into the validity of continued usage of OGL 1.0a for the creation, revision, or distribution of works. This is a misinterpretation of the text and clearly documented intentions of the open game license. WotC should focus on a path forward that incentivizes creators to adopt the new license because it offers superior access to game content, including content for 1D&D, rather than focusing misguided efforts on trying to nullify the prior license. And I'm going to address something that they don't here in just a minute. Irrevocable unless decided otherwise. And we find another trap, all right? We got past the pits. We got past the sphere of annihilation. We've navigated the hallway past the gargoyle. Now we're on to another trap. The new OGL 1.2 does include the significant term irrevocable. However, Wizards of the Coast has provided themselves with several ways to cancel the license, either individually or in total. Irrevocable unless otherwise decided. Severability. The severability clause provides WotC with the ability to declare the entire license void, nullifying it for all creators who have ever used it if any part of this license is held to be unenforceable or invalid for any reason. Such a judgment would be easy for WotC to obtain if desired. They could go late on a Friday afternoon and you wake up Monday morning and all your little kitchen sink press products or the hardback books that you've invested tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars into, no longer saleable with a snap of their fingers because they go find a friendly judge at 4:30 in the afternoon. The termination clause 7B1 allows for a creator's license to be terminated unilaterally and immediately for any infringement on intellectual property without a period of notice or opportunity to cure said breach, as required by the original 1.0a. If a creator were to accidentally use aspects of WotC material which belong to the Our Unlicensed Content category, that a creator could have the rights to their OGL immediately canceled with no opportunity to correct the mistake. Would WotC do this? If there were a creator that they wish to eliminate, they might scour the creator's historical body of work looking for anything that could be argued as an infringement of intellectual property rights. And I would dare say the so-called morality clause too. Class action waiver. Creators using OGL 1.2 waive all rights to participate in class, collective, or joint action. Wizards of the Coast may take legal action against creators individually without the possibility for peers in the industry who would also be affected by such a ruling to participate or aid in that legal action. They'll back you into a corner and cut you off from everybody. Every individual creator becomes responsible for maintaining that every clause in the OGL 1.2 is valid and enforceable in any legal action. Otherwise, WotC could declare the license void for all creators. Creators adopting the OGL are looking for a license which inspires confidence in the foundation for their personal and financial investment is secure and stable. These clauses provide too much wiggle room for Wizards of the Coast to take away a creator's rights if they deemed it necessary to do so, right there in black and white, guys. All right. There's the module text. The dungeon is full of traps. Then they go into their virtual tabletop policy, which is equally insidious. If you care about virtual tabletops, we'll focus on that just a little bit here. So the draft OGL 1.2 it references a separate document, the Virtual Tabletop Policy, which covers the terms under which virtual tabletops and VTT content may be offered under the OGL. Unfortunately, this policy is severely flawed, and I would take it these guys would know. A crucial issue with this document is that it is a policy rather than a part of the legal terms of the OGL itself. As a policy, it can be changed without altering the terms of the OGL. So they can go and they can start pulling stuff out of the VTT policy and say the OGL 1.2 is unaffected by this. If Wizards of the Coast were to decide in the future that they're not actually big fans of VTTs, this could easily become a restrictive policy which states that VTTs are not permitted. Just as print publishers have rightly insisted that the OGL must be irrevocable, the rights granted to software projects must also have a secure and trustworthy foundation to justify the investment required to create digital tools. Well, as we said back on Saturday, if you go and you look at D&D Shorts, it's very clear that WotC wants to kill off electronic tools, except for their own, because they want D&D to become a phone and tablet game, all right? Not a pen and paper tabletop game assisted by computers. They want that gone. They want to take that away from you. They don't want you to have that. If they could snap their fingers and Thanos away, a player's handbook and a dungeon master screen, they'd do it. They would do it. They want that desperately. And that's why they want to control VTT. And so here's a quote from the draft, but they get into it. Thou shalt not animate. The perplexing focus on animation of spell effects is an absurd heuristic as a primary example of what makes a virtual tabletop different from a video game. If differentiating between a VTT and a video game is essential, we contend it is not, then there are far more cogent classifiers to use. Are the action of both player and non-player character controlled by a human? Does the game experience provide a framework for collaborative storytelling? Can the game master invent new rules on the fly? Surely virtual tabletops and video games alike may both have animation present in the way they communicate information visually to the users. Even if a focus on animation is removed, it's concerning that Wizards of the Coast would choose which software features are appropriate for virtual tabletop to implement and which or not. I agree with that myself. Is this really about NFTs? Equally absurd is the emphasis on NFTs as an insinuated threat of what virtual tabletops would do if left unchecked by a governing policy from WotC. This paragraph reads as a sort of confused fear-mongering that seeks to limit the quality of virtual tabletop software. The virtual tabletops that are used and beloved by the community do not incorporate NFTs, nor would they remain beloved by the community if they were to do so. Yeah, I don't even know how you could put an NFT in a virtual tabletop game, okay? And then we come to this section, rewriting historical intent. And guys, you can check out the bulk of this document yourself. I am going to link to it. I'm not just going to sit here and read every section of it. But just briefly, rewriting historical intent applies to everything, not just VTTs here, guys. The current OGL and its authors were not restrictive in this regard. It's made clear in the OGL frequently asked questions featured on the Wizards of the Coast website as recently as November 2021, and then they provide detail in their software fact. But here's the thing I want to mention. These facts make the open intention of the OGL abundantly clear, and they don't reflect a single employee's opinion. These documents were published in 2004 and maintained on the WotC website until November of 2021, when they were removed without content. Wizards of the Coast is communicating a clear goal to continue their commitment to open gaming, citing tradition of the past 20 years. Adding the restrictions that they are It can be clearly seen as a targeted and anti-competitive measure designed to limit innovation and reduce the quality of products available to consumers. And the thing I wanted to mention about the removal of the OGL, just how they could trigger it, they don't touch on this, but it goes back to something with 5.1 and the SRD, and I just wanted to mention this real quick. It's not in there, but I just want to reinforce something that I've been saying, and that is with bringing old school stuff into the Creative Commons, if you continue to use that, you could trap yourself inside OGL 1.2. If they bring old school stuff in under the SRD, and if they bring it in under the CC, guess what? You could wake up and find yourself using OGL 1.2. Even if you're a guy like me and you're out there creating your own AD&D stuff, wink, wink, you could get trapped under this. So guys, once again, we have a nest of vipers here. You got to be careful. Read and watch. Okay? Read and watch, but don't sign off on anything yet. And be careful what you're using. This is a dangerous time for creators, guys. Not just to virtual tabletop stuff, but to good old pen and paper. If I get any new info about this, I'm going to keep an eye on Foundry's updates for this, all the updates of this, and you can check that out, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening and subscribing, and we'll be back later today with a Tales of Tabletop Triumph video, and we'll try and focus on the positive. And then tonight, of course, we're going to live stream some first edition AD&D. Until then, be good. Be positive. We got to watch each other's backs, guys. Take care.